When it comes to piloting, we already have that covered. You mentioned that you encountered some of the creatures. Was that up here?
No, they haven't come up here at all.
Interesting.
It seems that they cannot move terribly far away from the main cluster, to my knowledge.
Main cluster.
Yes, the remains of our dearly departed astrogator from the 5A7. They've turned into something else.
Yeah, we noticed.
We know.
Which one of you is the scientist? David becomes suddenly animated.
I feel like we're all looking at each other at this
I
point.
mean, we're all kind of like somewhat science-y. Like, none of us are dedicated scientists. We just, had enough knowledge to...
I think
Marvelous.
the corporal is the closest thing, because I think...
In response to what Vox said, he's just be like, marvelous, excellent. Then you'll all understand. Did you happen to read any of my reports?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
That's how we were able to come up with the test to begin with.
Then you know that there is something about this planet that is inherently inimical to, he spreads his hands, whatever that creature is.
Yes.
I've been able to run some further tests since I've been up here. It is this quality, this chemical, this trace substance that harms the creature, that represses it. It's in the air. It's in the plant and insect life. It's in the soil, at least to a certain depth.
Can it be used to make a cure for initial infections? Obviously, past a certain point, people wouldn't be able to be saved.
I believe it can. I lack the resources to make such a cure up here, but if we were to extract that quality from some of the rather abundant moss on the planet's surface, I believe we could make a cure. Concentrated enough, we might even be able to make a weapon.
Interesting.
Well, we can gather some of that while we're evacuating people to the rift hauler.
Yes, extraction is primary mission.
How many people have survived up here?
Just 3 of us, I'm afraid.
To be fair, that is 3 more people than I expected.
Same.
And as for convincing your colleague on how bad things are, well, we do have the logs, including video of the camp, so we should be able to convince them rather easily.
I was afraid that was all lost. Normally, I would be able to download those files directly through our computer system here, but, well, you've seen our bad luck. He gestures up towards the roof of the observatory.
My personal computer has a copy, and we sent another copy to the rift hauler in case something had happened while we were investigating.
Very good, very good. Let me get a couple of masks for Amelia and myself. We need to go over to the observatory.
Will you need a third for your colleague?
Simnon, she probably has her own.
I mean, she had to get to the building, so...
Yes, you can, for perhaps 5 minutes, you can last outside of these buildings, but I wouldn't recommend it.
All right.
While they're preparing to go, I'm going to ask the corporal if we should check in with the captain and Tass over the comms so that they know we're making progress. I mean, they'll probably see us walking across, but also...
Prima, do you know what the most important weapon is on the battlefield?
The brakes.
Communication.
So, is that a yes?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Cool. Good talk.
He sighs.
Right. Fox comes the air sled to update them.
Eric responds with an affirmative, and he's continuing to hold position.
Hey, I'm happy. So long as there's been no activity out there, that's good.
I think it's curious that there's something in the air that suppresses them, and yet up here where there's less air, they're not here.
I mean, they just might not have reached this point, and like he said, it seems like they don't want to go past, like, too far from the main body of it.
Right. Okay.
I think that is the key. Now the question is, why can't they move too far from it?
Brain?
I believe that we are not dealing with several life forms. I believe that we are dealing with one life form. I believe these are all the same creature.
Why is that so uncomfortable?
Because it's not something we really deal with in normal life.
As far-fetched as it sounds, I believe this creature has some sort of psychic capacity to control the parts of its body that aren't directly attached to it.
Ugh. Like cells in the human body.
Yes, similar enough.
Suppressed nausea.
I mean, we've seen humans develop psi tendencies. Why wouldn't there be other natural organisms that function in the same way?
There even appears to be inanimate objects, like certain columns in the middle. No.
Not going to do it now, but I'm going to make a mental note later to ask Dr. Mills if he's interacted with those rocks down the mountain.
Once Amelia and David have their masks on, they gesture to the door.
Alrighty.
Sounds good.
You all make your way through the locks in 2 groups and head on over to the observatory.
All right.
When you reach the observatory, David presses a button on the pad next to the door, holds it down, and says, "Dr. Keene?" There's a pause. "Yes?" "Our rescue crew has arrived. They would like to talk with you." Another pause. "All right."
Corporal Octavio Guerrero and the rest of the 4A4 crew, we are here to pick you up and bring you off this planet.
"Please come in. I prefer to converse face to face."
Thank you.
All right. By the time you get through the airlock, enter into a large open space. There are computer terminals and consoles everywhere.
Wow.
And there's a lot of sophisticated sensory equipment. And standing there is Dr. Keene.
Oh,
She has a very, business-like demeanor and is quite puzzled by your appearance from the looks of things.
Dr. Keene, it is no longer safe here.
More of this strangeness about plant monsters, is it?
right. Just taking out the laptop, pulling up a video. I'm not going to try and argue it.
As you play an unannounced and unwanted snuff film for her, she throws a hand up over her mouth. She's like, oh my.
Yeah, it's shit out there.
The situation has become exasperated, Doctor. Hence why we have been dispatched to extract you.
Oh my. She takes a moment and, calms herself. Didn't want to see that, but I suppose I needed to. Best job I've ever had. And it's going to end with some kind of monstrous incursion.
How long have you been here, Dr. Keene?
12 years now.
Wow. That's a long time.
I specialize in astronomy and observation of the stars and how space and the universe work. And yeah, this is kind of the perfect place to study that without being interrupted.
I can understand that.
It's not every day one finds an isolated planet orbiting a brown dwarf. I've been able to advance my body of knowledge quite a bit here, but that has very little to do with the situation in Candling Station. I apologize, Dr. Mill, for not believing you.
I mean, I don't think anybody would believe it without having seen it.
If what Dr. Mill has told me is true, which I now very much believe it is, that would mean, and she wanders over to a computer and begins to plink away, that would mean that this organism is capable of surviving in vacuum, yes?
Correct.
We fear that.
Or at least it can go dormant within it.
That is very bad news.
Although he does also believe that there might be possible to develop a cure based off items on the planet. So,
Doctor, are you getting at something?
Yes. I mean, well, what if we leave this planet and there are cells of that organism on the hull of your spacecraft somewhere?
Yes, that is a possibility I was afraid of.
Mills mentioned a moss weapon, didn't he?
yes, that is one of the reasons why we will have to grab as much of the material that could be used to possibly create the cure and make sure that we attempt to have that done. We have at least developed a means of detecting the spores.
David, what is it that you've said about this organism on this planet? David clears his throat and he's like, yes, there is something about this planet that is inherently hostile to the organism and represses it. And she straightens up and turns and looks at you all, and she's like, well then, we need to consider what this organism functions like when it is not surrounded by poison.
Are you suggesting isolating it and observing its behavior?
No.
I'm suggesting that if it makes it off-world, if it makes it to a trade route, if it makes it to a populated planet, what happens then?
I'm actually starting to squat on the ground and kind of putting my head to my knees, taking into context what I've seen.
David pipes up once again. Yes, Doctor, that is my concern. I believe if we allow this contagion off-world, it could very well be the end of things.
Special thanks to our logo designer Sierra Twazin, to Toys and Things in Danvers, Massachusetts, Reaper Miniatures, and Mongoose Publishing. If you enjoy the show, help the podcast grow. Give us a follow on Twitter at LordsBroken, join the community Discord, and maybe consider offering a small tribute to the old ones on our Ko-Fi. All these links and more can be found in our link tree at linktr.ee/The Broken Lords. Thank you.
Podcast recommendations, you ask? Brian Wayne here, co-curator of The Apocalypse. And I know that sounds gnarly. That's because it is gnarly, man. The Apocalypse. What is The Apocalypse? The Apocalypse is a culmination of the gnarliest podcasts, independent podcasts the internet has to offer. So instead of trying to go to Twitter the next time you need a new podcast to listen to and try to get Twitter famous, podcast recommendations, please. Just think The Apocalypse, man. And it's ironic because The Apocalypse is only the beginning. It's only the beginning. Just go to podchaser.com. It's in the top lists. The top lists in the whole world. So whether you're looking for true crime, sports, role-playing, I don't know, anything. Think of a podcast. It's on The Apocalypse. It's like the apocalypse with a D. And do not forget to follow The Apocalypse on Twitter as well. Once again, that is The Apocalypse. If you're looking for a podcast recommendation, The Apocalypse is sure to have something for you.